So what I had in mind was that we had these little, uh, if we all had like did this multiple times, and we had all these little cup fingerprints, and then
Hmm.
basically we would stick these fingerprints on whatever we made, to give a visual representation of how many fingerprints have touched this piece, even down to the raw material.
Whose fingerprints would they be though? Ours or other people's?
Ours. I mean, it'll be mainly ours, to start with, and then as an interactive piece on the side, we would have people adding their fingerprints similarly to ours. I was thinking of like actual, yeah, the stamp thing, like the old school stamp things. People could stick their fingers on it and put it up, and then you have some like hand sanitizer which helps them wash their
Yeah.
hands afterwards with your.
What's the what's the map going to be of?
I was thinking, since we all have it in common and it's in Arnold Finney, maybe a little map of Bristol or the harbour side.
Because we could still do a map, but it could just be translated a bit different, like just not quite as a flat thing.
We don't have to have a concrete proposal, but what by next Wednesday. But what we really need to have it, we need to understand what materials we're going to be using.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about using glass? Because I think fingerprints would look better on glass than paper because it would also be sort of translucent.
Actually, if it's on glass, be a lot more fun to exhibit because we could go in the middle of a space rather than against a wall.
How easy do you think it would be to score glass?
I don't know about glass, but they probably do etching, like on sort of filmy type plastic that would have the similar sort of
Vinyl
thing.
would be perfect. Or
Yeah,
perspex.
perspex. Yeah.
Let's do perspex. Because then it won't like no chance of it shattering or anything.
So there's no sign of the other members just yet. There's two other guys. Neil's just told us to crack on with it, and they'll join if they.
Whenever.
But what I was thinking was for maybe like texturally fabric. So maybe like lace might be like cool, something like, or like fleet. Is it lace where you've got like those pretty patterns and things like that? Yeah, something like that. Maybe add to the texture, and that could even help with like a 3D effect, for terrain and stuff like that.
For buildings, because they're sort of like squares, like the top of skyscrapers, for example. What if we cut out little pieces of perspex, exactly the same as the background, and put them over the top of the building, so the buildings sort of look 3D, like on Google
Yeah,
Maps?
that's a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a piece that Elias Sime did, and is a red piece, and he's kind of like he's got the flowers are coming out, and he's still got the threads of wire going over the top of them, and like maybe we can do something similar with embroidery, but like if we have it so that we can still touch it and paint it. And so we put the embroidery maybe over the buildings, for example, and then we've got like more surface area that they can dab
Yeah.
around. We want it to be like an interactive piece where we get members of the public to like dab their finger into ink and put fingerprints all over it, so that we've got it basically like, one of the themes from Elias Sime's work is that everything has a fingerprint, from the day it was made. And so I just wanted like a real like visual, confirmation of those fingerprints, like how many people. So basically like it's also got the landscape element, it's got the educational like interactive purposes because there'll be kids around, and then it's got this fingerprint. I keep forgetting this word that I'm trying to say, but basically like it just solidifies the fingerprint idea. The engraving is going to be done hopefully like with a laser.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll get the perspex to the right size, and then I think we'll find a map and blow it up to the size of the perspex and then get it engraved from a laser. I think that would be the
Yes.
best way to do it. Or if failing that, Chloe's familiar with perspex and she's engraved onto it before, so she can do that as well. She's a fine artist, so she's quite handy, if you know what I mean. She's a handy person. Yeah, so I'm kind of like a producer role, but I don't want to be like the one that just tells people what to do. I'm more than happy to be like an extra pair of hands as well. So, and then Miles is, I can't remember what he said. He's kind of taken on like this cameraman role, I guess. But again, it doesn't say that he's going to be the editor for the final film as well. So basically, we don't have to write up a portfolio. So yeah, and I'd say if you're happy to source materials and things like that, that'd be great. And then take a look at some maps and just check out the different textures on those maps. It should be relatively straightforward. Chloe's going to hand draw what the piece is going to look like. But yeah, I'd say don't stress yourself at all until we get back, really. If you see something, then of course make note of it. And then we'll arrange a meeting when we get back and we'll crack on from there. Basically, yesterday the consultations went really well. Grant's been a bit of a godsend, really, because he knows how to use all the software that we need. He's going to go on and do all of the digital design so that the embroidery can read our layers, and the laser cutting for the acrylic can read all our layers too. There's basically 3 acrylic layers to for the laser treatment. We basically have a 1mm clear acrylic with light engravings to hold the fabrics, which are going to basically identify the different elements on the map, which is going to, so
Okay.
we're basically going to sandwich the fabrics in between a 1mm layer of acrylic and a 3mm layer of acrylic. That way we don't have any of the details obscured. And so we've got all the fabrics behind the details, and all the details on the map are going to be lit up like really bright. I've seen like loads of pictures which are using smaller lights than we're going to use, and they're lit up like stars, you know. So literally all the details on this map are going to be seen, and they'll be in front of all the fabrics, which are going to like show different textures for different elements, so like buildings or man-made, naturalistic settings, and then obviously water. So 3 fabrics, 3 elements, which are man-made, greenery and water. The materials, I've mentioned clear acrylic, and then there's 4 fabrics that I'm thinking. Some sort of white mesh for trees and grass, maybe like a metallic for buildings, or the metallic could be for roads. I'm not too sure about a third one. And then basically the Arnolfini, because the Arnolfini is going to be practically in the center of the map. The Arnolfini, we're thinking about having like a special vibrant color of its own. Something that's
that sounds good.
Yeah, something that's less neutral. And then without having to tell anyone, we don't have to be like, you are here. It will just stand out.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
What
That sounds
color?
good.
What's like a color that we
So
use? Like, what is
basically,
a color that doesn't match?
I'm thinking all of the whole map's going to be like neutral colors, because
Yeah, green and blue, because it's like water and
yeah. So I'm thinking like so all the materials are going to be neutral colors except for the Arnolfini one.
I see.
But the Arnolfini will be something that stands out, maybe like a bright pink or something. I don't
Come
know.
on, pink. I vote pink.
Yeah.
I would say pink or
yeah,
purple,
works for me.
some
Yeah,
type of pinky purple type colour.
Yeah, pinky purple, just something vibrant that stands out from something that isn't like a neutral color.
Or like even paint, maybe like a type of body paint or something. Like
That might be good because
That might
I'm
be
worried
good.
the ink might stain. What if a bunch of kids just have stained fingers for like days? Like, what if
Yeah.
the ink stains? their
yeah.
That might
That
even
wouldn't be
that
that would
might be a really
great.
good idea actually. So maybe we don't use the ink because I don't know if you guys saw that ink, that fingerprint ink that I put on the acrylic yesterday.
Yeah.
I've still got residue of the ink on my thumb, on my finger now. So
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that
so
would-
I think like a water-based body paint would be better.
layer 4 will be like a 3D element, which will be laser cut. This is all going to be from the same map, so everything's going to be perfectly aligned. There's not going to be any fiddly bits whatsoever. We just have 3 identical size pieces of acrylic. One is 1mm with light engraving, 3 is detailed engravings, and then 4 will literally be the shapes of the buildings, and the trees, and that'll be like a raised element to give it like a 3D effect. It also, because of the edges of those 3D elements, we also mean no one goes over lines, so it should like look pretty good. Grant's completely clued up with the 2 pieces of software that we've got to use. Wilcom for embroidery, which will be for the layer 2, which is the materials, which will basically like print everything in our shapes. And then Illustrator will be for the laser cutting. Am I right in thinking you've got some materials left, Grant?
Yeah, I've got some spare fabric, but they're not the biggest.
Okay.
Some of them might be able to fit like some map parts or map areas.
But we
What is the fabric?
I've got like a mix of different fabrics of cotton, wool, polyester.
Grant knows exactly what we're doing. He's going to get
Yeah.
detailed map and then put a digital design on this software that prints out those fabrics. So we're going to move into the digital design process now, sourcing materials now, then the make week, then we're going to start making it through the machines. And then after that, it's all about putting it together, and then finally installing it. Meanwhile, Miles is going to be cutting all of that together. Going to have this meeting to kind of explain what we're going to do next, or kind of like navigate how we're going to go about assembling.
Sorry, it's just a bit like it's not.
And then yeah, so by the end of this, we'll know what we're doing next, how we're going to put it together, what we're going to do with it afterwards, and who's going to be doing what, hopefully. Still to finish, we've got some laser cutting still to do. We've still got the cathedral, We the Curious, the aquarium, 2 pieces on the waterfront, the Old Vic, and that is, yeah, so once those are done, we can stick them on last after it's all assembled. So no pressure if we just focus on assembling, and then we can stick them on last. No more additions other than the frame.
Are we hand making the frame?
What do you reckon?
How long does it take to hand make a frame for something this size? Because would there be something we can readily buy for something that's the exact
That would be
dimensions
nice,
of this?
but then we'd have to find that.
Yeah.
True, yeah. But how long does it take to make a frame?
It
I
can
don't
take
know.
within a day.
Really?
As soon as we book it into fabrication, they'll help us do it within a day.
Can we pay materials with our addition?
Yes.
Let's do that then. How are we going to stick these pieces together? Have you spoke to the laser technician on how to stick the acrylic to the acrylic?
Not for this exactly, but
turn the engraved side over and use the engraving as a guide to stick the fabric to the bottom side of the middle sheet. However, can we just use the same glue?
Yeah,
Yeah?
probably.
And you won't see anything.
You shouldn't do.
No,
Also,
'cause
because
it-
where the lines are, even if it was a tiny bit misty, like from where these are, I don't think it would come through anyways.
How are we going to, so basically, once that's stuck on there, we need to have this clamped or to hold everything together so nothing falls off the back, basically protecting all of the fabrics. Do we just glue it
I think
like
so.
the rest of it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We could glue it and
Or
then,
do we clamp it with the screws?
I say both.
Well,
personally.
both I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to be-
Once we're installing it on the wall, that will be screwed in.
Miles is going to be working flat out on our portfolio, assembling all our footage together, making it into a nice, neat package. So then, once it's all made, it's all installed, what to do with it next? So Grant and I have considered possibly submitting it to further exhibits. How do you feel about that? Yeah? Further exhibits, so that might cost a little bit of our own money to do, but I think like split between 5 of us should be pretty cool. I'm thinking about doing an Instagram account where we can like kind of like give people a following, and then maybe on our plaque we put like a QR code and people can follow us if they like it. And then yeah, and that would be like the home of like all the kind of like next pieces of footage of people interacting with it and stuff like that. We have spoke to Neil. He suggested that we put colour fingerprints on to certain locations on the map in different colours, and then have postcards that line up to those fingerprints, and then they can write a memorable moment of their favourite location on the map.
Okay, yeah.
We could do that, however,
That's
that's
all.
cost. That's another little thing we've got to make on the side. So I'd say that could be a possibility if we got time. I'm thinking a final resting place would be to sell it to a buyer who could be M-Shared, could be one of the exhibits really love it and they want to keep it. What should we call it?
Oh yeah, we don't have a time.
We haven't named it.
I feel like we should get a good list of just ideas going and we all pick in the
I
chat.
was going to
at
say,
some
so
point.
if everybody, again over the weekend, gets a
Yeah.
list of at least 10.
Just everyone
Yeah.
have a list.
How are we feeling?
Good.
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'll send all of this onto the WhatsApp group. Lovely.
Cool.
Go Burgundy.
Go back in the day.